to coast the cruise.
Oh my God, that was so much fun!
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, The Legend, here, coming at you with another audio slideshow. And this is one I've been wanting to do for months and months and months. Literally, it's been on my to-do list since May when I took all these pictures. And that was give an audio slideshow of my trip along, my walk along the Branson Strip in Branson, Missouri, which I believe is Country Highway 76, which is sort of the tourist strip in Branson. You know, it's where you find all the goofy tourist attractions and all sorts of weird stuff. And just wanted to take you along my adventures around there. 'Cause, I mean, I love that kind of crap, and I'm hoping a bunch of you people that watch this do enjoy it as well. Now, a little bit of background. This was back when we went to do the big Silver Dollar City with the Coaster Crew Outruns the Law trip back in May. And my flight got in early. I got in the early afternoon, and it was such a long day of travel. I had to get up and drive from my house to the airport, and I flew out of Orlando Sanford, so it was about an hour drive for me. So it was an hour drive there, and then 2 hours of sitting around the airport, then a 2.5 hour flight, something like that, to get up there, and then an hour drive on the rental car to get from the Springfield Branson Airport down to the Strip and where Silver Dollar City was. So it was just such a long day of travel that once I got into town, my buddies weren't getting into town for a couple hours. I just wanted to get out of the car, get out of any rooms, and just walk around. And that's exactly what I did. I took this giant long walk across the whole, well, not the whole thing, because the Strip goes very, very, very long, but from my hotel all the way down to one end and back, just to get out, stretch my legs, and sort of see what's out there and see the city a little bit. And that's what I did. And that's going to be kind of what I'm taking you through here, showing you off a whole bunch of stuff and a whole bunch of weird stuff. Branson is definitely a different town, you know. It's, I guess, I don't know how I would describe it. It's weird. Weird's a good word. You know, it's sort of designed, I guess, for, you know, middle-aged to old white people that love country music. And then some kids that love go-karts. I guess that would be my best way to describe it off the top of my head. Now, I do apologize if I don't remember everything, because this was a while ago. It's been on my to-do list, and I just haven't had the hour or so it takes to sit down and go through these pictures. But I'm going to go through them here with you and show you some of the stuff I did. Over here, we're starting out at the world's largest toy museum, which, you know, really didn't look that large. It did have some cool stuff. I love the idea of a toy museum. I'm a toy fan. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff sitting on my desk. You know, if you've ever been to my apartment, you know I have a large collection of Disney Vinylmations and all sorts of figurines and stuff. So this does seem kind of cool. Not something I stopped in because I just wanted to walk around. I didn't want to go to a museum. The weird part was it was attached. It was sort of a double museum. If you look at the sign on the left-hand side, the top left corner. It was paired with the Shepherd of the Hills Museum. So it was actually two museums with completely different concepts for one price, which just seemed weird. But don't worry, it's Branson, and there was no shortage of weird. Now, there was a shortage of sad, obviously, here, as this next picture shows off the Ozark Wildcat, which was just off the Strip at the closed Celebration City theme park. Of course, GCI wooden roller coaster looked awesome. I mean, I was far away, but still, you know, GCI makes really good rides, and to see one sitting off the Strip, sad and dead, it's just pretty depressing. I believe they said later on during Q&A during our event that the whole place was going to get torn down, coming up real soon, so it won't be there to tease you that much longer. But it was really depressing seeing that off in the distance. I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. I really want to go on that. Oh, it hasn't ran in 5 years or whatever it's been. But as of right now, it's still there, and you can still go look and have a good cry. Moving on to something that was really, really, really kind of cool and kind of weird at the I think it was called the Extreme Racing Center. They had what was called the Sky Surfer or Flying Surfboard. And as you can see on the sign here, it advertised 50 feet up and 30 miles an hour. And you got to ride this thing on a zip line. It was really, really, really weird. Something I have never seen before in my entire life. This picture here, it'll show you off sort of the contraption itself that you sort of get tethered into as you go on your adventure. And just looked really weird. And I was depressed because I walked by and stopped and looked for about 5 or 10 minutes, and nobody went on it. And I didn't want to do it because it was like, I believe, like $30 or $40. It was very expensive. And I was depressed because nobody went in that. Then I went in a shop. By the time I came out of the shop, somebody was on it, so I got to take pictures of people actually doing this thing, as you can see here. Now, as you can see, it looks cool. It is a powered zip line, so it's not going by the force of gravity. You're actually on a motor. And it does, I got to say, it looks pretty cool, but it goes really slow. Like they say it went 30 miles an hour, and I'm not really sure where it does that, but it might do that at one point alone, and the rest of the time it kind of just goes pretty slow and peters along. A very cool idea, and definitely something very, very different. I've never seen this before in my entire life. An interesting idea. If it was faster, it definitely would have been cool, but it wasn't, so it wasn't that neat. But definitely an interesting concept and something very neat. Also, you can see this dollar store in the background. I'll get to that in a little bit because I did do some shopping here on the Branson Strip. And, of course, as you expected, anything else in Branson, it was pretty odd. Got another shot here, actually a cooler shot. This was my favorite picture I took of the Sky Surfer. They also had go-karts, plenty of go-karts in this town, tons and tons of go-karts. But Sky Surfer was kind of the star here, being so weird and different. Moving along, as I was talking about go-karts, here is another go-kart. They had a large chain of go-kart tracks called, I don't know how they thought of this name. They called themselves the Tracks, or the Track, or something like that. So there was a whole bunch of them across town, and each one sort of had their own signature go-kart track, which I thought was pretty cool. And all of them had a theme. Like this one was obviously themed to the Lumberjack, which is a giant go-kart track. And my favorite part was they had this really cool carving of this, little gnome guy. I just think that was neat. Now, let's see, what else do we got here? Okay, this pissed me off. So I'm walking along the strip. It's kind of hot, so I figure, hey, you know what? I could use a beer. When can I use a beer? Just about every hour is beer 30 to me. And I walked past this one bar, and there's a guy in a blue monkey suit standing outside. I had to do a double take, so it was kind of hot, and I was like, what, is this really happening? There's a guy in a monkey suit, so I walked past the monkey, and then I do a double take, and I'm like, hey, do you got a happy hour or anything? And the monkey's like, I don't know that. I just stand out here and wear the costume. So I kept walking. And that's how I spent my vacation, walking along the Branson Strip, asking people in monkey suits about their happy hour. I live such an interesting life. Moving on to, I believe this is, oh crap, I forgot the name of this water park. See, that's the problem. It's been so long since I've been there that I have forgotten the names of things. And that's I wish I would have done this about a week after I went, but I did not. Anyway, this is Silver Dollar City's official water park, and it's not attached to the park. It's not really anywhere close to the park. It's actually right by the strip with all these goofy tourist attractions. And I have to say, as much as I love Silver Dollar City, it looked like a really, really high-quality place. The water park here, it doesn't look that great. It looked very small. It looked like, not a lot of theming involved at all, and it just looked very, very bland. I'm going to Google the name of the Silver Dollar City's water park because right now it's pissing me off. But you can see a couple slides here, big slides. And that's the thing. They didn't have any marquee slides either. It just looked very mediocre. And not something I would spend my money on. Not the biggest water park guy out there, so... but still, it's a little disappointing for, especially they do such good work with the Hershey parks that I was expecting when I walked past a Hershey water park. It is whitewater, I was right. Alrighty. So that I was expecting when I walked past that it would look a lot cooler than it did. And I was kind of disappointed with that. On the plus side, they speak Joel's language. Aloha. That's Hawaiian. Moving on, we got probably the most accurately named gift shop / eatery I've ever seen in the tourist area, and that is Abby's Tourist Trap. I love the logo they have next to it of a gift bag and a bear trap. I mean, that's just hilarious. They're not trying to fool around with who they are. That's it. We're a tourist trap. Come on in. We're not going to try and decoy you. This I thought was interesting. Now, it's September when I'm doing this video, but I was at Branson, Missouri in May, and the Gateway Inn of the Ozarks was still advertising that October is Jerusalem month in May. I'm guessing maybe they were out of business, or maybe they just really love Jerusalem. Maybe they're counting down. Some people count down to, Halloween haunt season, or, a new ride opening. The Gateway Inn of the Ozarks, maybe they count down to Jerusalem month. Interesting. You see some weird stuff. Now, moving along, you walk down this strip and you see literally probably 50 to 60 different theaters like this. Look like shitty tiny theaters advertising 3 or 4 different shows, and none of which appeal to me whatsoever. Literally, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows in this town, and they're all pretty much the same thing. Like people singing old songs, like nothing contemporary. It's all old music, and it's just weird. Yeah, odd. I don't know. I mean, obviously it works for Branson. They claim to be the live music capital of the world or live entertainment capital of the world, and good for them. But none of this stuff appealed to me at all. And also, I'm not sure how any of these stay in business with so much competition out there that literally there was one on every corner. Like some places, you go up a Starbucks, a McDonald's, or a Walgreens on every corner. They had a theater on every corner. And for me, showing what looked like crappy shows. I mean, they were just, granted, I mean, not in their target demo. Their target demos, probably, 55 to 60-year-old people. I'm a 28-year-old guy looking for roller coasters and booze. So probably not in the target demo for whatever they're trying to sell. And I did not go to any of their shows. Even though, yeah, I mean, come on. How could you miss out on the number one hits of the 60s? It's groovy, it's far out, it's a party. Yeah, did not go. Then, I mean, this is such a weird town. Moving along, this was sitting outside of a gift shop in the parking lot is this giant sculpture of Ronald Reagan. What the fuck? The gift shop had nothing to do with Ronald Reagan. It was just sitting in the parking lot next to the gift shop. And it's massive. I mean, this thing must have been about 15 to 20 feet tall. Look at it. Here's a picture of it. I needed to take a second picture to show off how big this thing was. Here's it next to a minivan. What the hell? I mean, it's just really, really, really weird. Really weird. I mean, what kind of a business owner said, do you know what? I know what'll bring people into our shops. A solid product line, discount prices, a catchy sign. No! How about a 15-foot bust of Ronald Reagan? Weird. Just weird. Moving on, I got to the second of the tracks parks, back to things that actually appeal to me. And this one was themed to heavy metal. And actually, this one looked like it had a bunch of more stuff. There was some kiddie rides. There was a big arcade and a couple things I'll get to in just a moment. But the best part was it was right next to Andy's Frozen Custard, which was one of the most delicious things I had on this trip. If you are in town, this is one of the things I would highly recommend doing is stopping at Andy's Frozen Custard because it was just that delicious. Fantastic stuff. Also, across the street, they had a slingshot ride, which when I walked by, I thought, no, there's no way this thing runs. It looks like it was like reutilized, like a sort of a reutilized telephone tower. Like some redneck bought 2 telephone towers and made a slingshot out of it. But you know what? I walked past later in the evening, and it was actually running. So I was kind of baffled. I thought this was, something that didn't work. It doesn't look very professional, but it was a slingshot ride. I was shocked. So kudos to them. Also walking along, they had some, like any tourist attraction town, they do have some really cool mini golf. And one of my favorite courses in this town was Professor Hacker's Mini Golf. I think I've seen this a couple of different places now. I think it might be a chain. But the cool part is if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you see a track, and you get to go on this little train ride from where you pay all the way up to the start of the mini golf course. So it does, make this mini golf instead of just a one-off kind of thing, more of an experience, and I do like that. Also, they had this cool skull tunnel with flashing eyes, so that's always neat. Moving along back, the one tracks area was pretty large and actually did feature a sky coaster. So that's cool. Most, can't say too many go-kart places that I've been to had their own sky coaster, but this one did. Of course, being a tourist town, and you had to have a Ripley's Believe It or Not, because, I mean, if you don't have a Ripley's Believe It or Not, clearly you are not, that cheesy tourist destination. And I have to say I'm a big fan of Ripley's. I've been to so many of their museums. Oh, my gosh. Off the top of my head, let's see if I can remember. I've been to the one in Myrtle Beach. I've been to the one in Key West. I've been to the one in New York City. I've been to one in Niagara Falls. I've been to one in Hollywood. I've been to one, let's see, obviously here in Orlando. Maybe that's it. I've been to quite a few. They are all similar, but they all do have their differences. And they are known for their sort of outrageous, wacky building structure and, sort of extreme architecture, which is always cool to see. And I wasn't too impressed with this one. Some of them were really, really awesome. This one, they got a little crack in the building. But it didn't do it for me. As a Ripley's aficionado, I would say not one of the more impressive Ripley's Believe It or Not structures that's out there. Then there's this. You lost me on the name alone. Branson Ball Knocker. Yeah, I mean, who wants it? That's a terrible name. Branson Ball Knocker? Strap in and take the 550-foot run solo or with 2 others. Be prepared for the time of your life. Extreme sphering on the Branson Ball Knocker. If you want to find more info about the Ball Knocker, go to ballknocker.com. The one thing that Ball Knocker did have going for it was that it did have a cute girl in the picture there. Also, Branson Ball Knocker didn't have a sign for their attraction. They just had this van for their attraction parked out in front of their attraction, which seemed to be operated out of this creepy looking shed thing over there. Needless to say, from the name Ball Knocker alone, I wasn't too interested. But then, you look at this and you're like, that looks like a rape shed. I didn't want to go up there and go on their ball knocker. This is like, how are you going to get any business? It seems terrifying, weird, creepy, and very Branson, Missouri, I guess. Moving on, I did some shopping on the strip because, you're walking along the strip. You got to go in some of the shops and see what they're selling. And weird shit. Definitely some weird shit in some of these shops. Like this extremely racist tin sign of a small black child eating watermelon. Yes, this is, kind of things that are acceptable for sale in Branson, Missouri, and probably nowhere else. Or if that didn't do it for you, Uncle Remus brand syrup with its tagline, "Dis sure am good." Classy, Branson. You stay classy. Just weird. Like, how could you sell this in your shop? Like, do you know what I should sell? How about some racist signs? Weird. Moving along, I took this picture for our buddy Tim. As a big fan of Geauga Lake, I knew that he would love anything with a roller coaster named the Big Dipper. So I had to take this picture for him. Also, I thought it was hilarious that in this picture, a dog is riding a roller coaster. That's combining 2 things I love, both dogs and roller coasters. So there we go. Almost bought that one. Moving along to some of the weird shit I found in the dollar store, here is a string bag from the Waterworks Park. I have no idea what the Waterworks Park is. It certainly wasn't anywhere in Branson, and I've never even heard of a Waterworks Park, and nor would I know how this dollar store in Branson, Missouri got their string bags. Also, probably my favorite thing I saw in this store was this book entitled, "What's for Lunch? Potatoes!" Now, who wouldn't want to spend $1 on a hardcover book entitled "What's for Lunch? Potatoes"? Interesting. Moving along to probably one of the coolest things I saw on the strip, and definitely one of the more technologically advanced and more impressive things, was this Titanic Museum. Now, you've seen these all over. We have one in Orlando. There's one in Pigeon Forge. So it's not something that's brand new, but I just thought this one was really, really well done. You had if you look at the front of the ship, right where it hits the water, there was actually water splashing up against it to make it look like the ship was moving. You had this great fountain and crashing into an iceberg. Just, again, I'm a fan of that extreme architecture, and I thought this was very cool, very, very well done. Then we went to there's a whole section which is owned by one company, and then they own a couple different goofy tourist attractions. Again, some cool, giant, eye-catching architecture here for the Hollywood Wax Museum, with, of course, got King Kong on top. Right next to the Wax Museum, they have this big old Mount Rushmore of movie star fame. So I thought that was cool. Just some giant, eye-catching stuff here. Once you walked inside, they had this great photo op with King Kong, and then you enter the Wax Museum over there on the right where Tom Cruise was. Also attached to the Wax Museum was a very cool Hollywood-themed mini golf course. Now, if you look around, you're going to see some pedestal-like things at the start of every hole, and you pushed a button, and they would tell you about stuff and sort of portray a little bit of a story as you're going along the mini golf course. So again, like I talked about before with Professor Hackers, this really took the mini golf course to that next level and sort of made it more of an experience, and that's something I love to see as a fan of themed entertainment. Also, going back to my love of goofy architecture, you had the Castle of Chaos and Hannah's House of Mirrors attached to the Wax Museum. And again, it's the kind of thing where you could buy, a one ticket or a combo ticket and save price on all of them. $15 for one or $30 for all, that kind of thing. But I really just enjoyed, going back to some of my themes about some of my favorite things, architecture here, and that just how cool those wizard and witch pillars looked on the side of this castle. I just love that. I think that's fabulous. Really, really cool. Haven't got to do one of the Castle of Chaoses yet. I've thought about it. This is the second trip I've thought about it because they do have one in Pigeon Forge as well. At some point, that's on the to-do list. I mean, these are places I'm sure I'll be back. Well, probably not Branson, but I'll definitely get back to Pigeon Forge. Moving along, there was this really, really cool shopping area pretty much right across the street from my hotel called the Grand Village, and it was really cool. You know, this whole Victorian theme with some cool little shops. The only problem is I was there about 6 o'clock on a Friday, and everything was closed. Like, what kind of tourist town is this that you would close your shop at 6 o'clock on a Friday night in the summer? I was baffled. Like, how could you do that? Like, are you asking to lose money? I know Branson's different than a lot of the tourist towns I've been to, but, you know, closing your shop at 6 o'clock seems like a very poor idea. I guess the idea is that people would go to these shows all across the strip and they wouldn't be in your store, but I mean, very weird that you would close shops at 6 o'clock. And for what was a really cool little area. And then you got a neat photo up here with a giant chair. Right next to the Grand Village shops was the Grand Palace, which is out of business and gigantic. This must have been an old theater, an old, very, 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 very big theater. But what I thought walking by, I walked by and you see this on the outside and you're like, the first thing that popped into my mind was, man, you could turn this thing into an incredible haunted house. I mean, it's got the architecture on the outside that could scream haunted house. You got a giant, giant building. I mean, somebody buy this thing if somebody hasn't already bought it. Forget the shows. Turn this thing into a massive haunted house. Because that's, in my opinion, what it needs to be. Also, there's my shadow on the bottom left corner. Anyway, that was when I walked by that. I'm like, man, haunted house, do it. I just thought this sign was neat for a food and beverage establishment. Good food, Shorty Smalls, big fun. Just thought that was neat. I just was walking around. Maybe I was getting loopy by this point when I was taking pictures. All right, moving on. We had the Secret Garden, timeless romantic clothing. Now, anywhere else in America, I would think, ooh, that's a sex store. Except in Branson, Missouri, where it probably sold old dresses and things. I'm pretty sure that's what it did. It was like Victoria dresses and, you know, things like that. But anywhere else, Secret Garden, timeless romantic clothing probably meant like thongs and dildos. But not here. Here it meant actual clothing. Moving on to something I thought was pretty neat. The Cool Off Water Shoot. Now, they weren't open yet. I think they were opening the weekend after I was there. But the cool thing, they're in their 38th year. I thought that was really neat. Moving on to see, if you want to look at what the water chute is, it is an old school concrete trough style water slide. And obviously you could tell it's 38 years old because they haven't made water slides like this in probably 20 years. But anyway, I thought that was really neat. You know, stay in business for 38 years just running a simple concrete trough water slide. Props to them. Also, props for staying in business. That's just impressive. Moving along to a big cock. There's a big cock. This was some sort of steak and chicken restaurant. Also, it reminded me of, what was that cartoon? I think it was Animaniacs, where they had a Chicken Boo, and it reminded me of that. So there's that. I got a Animaniacs reference and a penis joke in one picture. So hard to do. Moving on, I thought this hotel looked really cool. You had a windmill-themed hotel. Also, it seemed really cheap. I think it was like $30 or $40. And that's one thing I wanted to say. When you go to Branson, unless you're going on like a big holiday weekend, I would probably just drive in and try to find some places to stay. I stayed at the cheapest hotel I found on Travelocity, the Hall of Fame Motel and Inn, and it was completely fine. It was like $40 a night. But, you know, everywhere you went along the strip was hotels that aren't on big websites like that. I guess they haven't updated to the 21st century and haven't found out what the internet is. But, you know, you did have a lot of very cool hotels and a lot of very cheap hotels. So if you're going, that's my advice. Unless you're going on a very busy weekend, just wing it and you'll be able to find something. Like here, you could stay at the Windmill, right next to the Big Cock. It was also right next to the Wild Woody. Yep. Again, this was the third of the Trax Parks I walked by, and this one had a Wild Woody themed go-kart track. So there's that. Moving along to more shows that I had absolutely no interest in, but at least this one had a funny name. The Bald Knobbers Jamboree Show, Branson's first show. And this was right next to the Bald Knobbers Resort and the Bald Knobbers Restaurant. You could have a whole Bald Knobber weekend. Again, Branson is very different. And moving along to the last and final picture of my slideshow report, and this was the show that was right next to my hotel. And this is the kind of thing, when you walk by it, you're like, you can't be fucking serious. But oh yeah, they're fucking serious. Twice a day, you could come here and see the 3 redneck tenors. And you know what? I didn't want to learn anything else about this show. I don't want to know what it is. I don't want to know if it's real or not. But I saw that sign, I'm like, shit. This town is fucking weird. And that's really what I thought of Branson, Missouri. It was a weird town, not something that appealed to me at all. That being said, Silver Dollar City is awesome. It is a really, really, really good theme park. They've got the cave tour. I've got a great video that I posted online. I'll try and link to it in this video. And I mean, it's a fabulous theme park. Just the town of Branson, not really a fan. It's the kind of thing where I'm in no rush to go back to Branson, Missouri, but I would love to go back to Silver Dollar City, if that makes any sense to you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my tour of the Branson Strip and it's all of its weird craziness. Definitely something to be seen there. You know, it was a good walk. Definitely achieved my goal of seeing some things and stretching my legs. So it was a good time. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/coastercrew, or go download In the Loop, which is our weekly podcast. If you search iTunes for Coaster Cruise In the Loop, that is our weekly podcast where we discuss all things in the world of theme parks and roller coasters. Also have a lot of guests on there from time to time. I want to thank you all for watching. I'm sure I'll probably get a lot of comments back from people that are listening about this. Again, I'm not the Branson expert. If you are, feel free to chime in with your input, as I would love to hear it. And thanks for tuning in.